Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Umayma Adan, and I'm a researcher, writer, and consultant at the intersection of gender equity, climate justice, and peace building. So it's been really wonderful to be here and to hear from such an incredibly knowledgeable group of women and men, each speaking to their unique experiences across different disciplines, regional contexts, and lived realities. I think we will all walk away with fresh perspectives, curiosity, hopefully some renewed purpose, and optimism in our capacity as a community. So across every presentation, there were several themes that emerged, namely representation, access, equity, quality, mentorship, and the urgent need to center Somali knowledge production and Somali women's knowledge production in particular. I'm not going to take up much of your time because I know, it's been a very long day, but I've been trying to sort of diligently take notes on each of the presentations. So I will share a few reflections on the action planning that can come out of today's dialogue to hopefully inform the future work of the Somali Gender Hub. And I have about 7 suggested action points that I will get through as quickly as possible. So inshallah, we can use them to sort of develop a post-conference report and a robust action plan that everyone will be able to access. So to begin, the first one is strengthening Somali women's scholarship. So we've heard from many of the speakers that Somali women need more mentorship, research funding, institutional support, and recognition of their contributions. So we need to also ensure that Somali women are visible, supported, and represented in academia and beyond. And we also need to ensure that we're building the next generation of Somali women researchers across all fields, and that includes STEM, peace building, the social sciences, the arts, and more. And so how can we ensure that that becomes a reality? So we can ensure that Somali Gender Hub continues to mentor scholars, to offer writing support, and to create pathways for peer review and other opportunities. We can also expand fellowship and funding opportunities for Somali scholars, and we can also provide soft skills training like writing, presentation skills, and proposal development. The second action plan that I've sort of identified is to build a merit-based higher education culture. So what we heard today was that nepotism, inconsistent standards, and weak quality assurance work to sort of undermine Somali education. So in order to show that we value education, we need to invest equally in women and girls, and we also need to invest in the promising young people across different socioeconomic positionings. And some of the action points around that include strengthening the accreditation and quality assurance mechanisms of our institutions. We also need to promote fair hiring practices and reward academic excellence regardless of connections or clan or anything like that. We also need to encourage that universities adopt internal standards that are aligned with the broader East African higher education area. So we heard from Dr. Abdinur Sheikh Mohammed and also from Fatima Ali Saman earlier that the outcome of these strengthened mechanisms of accountability and standards are students being able to transfer across institutions and Somali degrees being recognized regionally so that stronger trust is built in the education system. Next, we have heard about the importance of expanding girls' access to primary and secondary education. We heard from Hawa Mahmoud's research in Garowe that only 9.3% of girls reach secondary school in Somalia. There's also a high dropout rate that's linked to early marriage, poor health outcomes, and economic dependency. So some of the recommendations that Hawa put forth are government-led awareness campaigns on the importance of girls' education, building more schools, especially schools that sort of center the needs of girls, and to introduce affirmative action and gender-sensitive policies, as well as to ensure that we are supporting parents and caregivers in their need to prioritize the continuity of their girls' schooling. So the outcome of that is hopefully a stronger pipeline of girls who can reach university and research careers across Somalia. Next, we learned about the importance of supporting women's journeys in STEM and higher education. We learned that Somali women face many unique challenges and barriers to navigating tertiary education. They often forge alternative pathways, and their coping strategies are rarely documented. So we need to conduct more research on the barriers Somali women face at the university level. We also need to create women-led STEM networks and mentorship circles, and we also need to provide support for these women, and that could include offering childcare support, flexible scheduling, and safe environments in school. So the outcome of that is hopefully more Somali women are entering and staying in high-level academic fields. next is the importance of recognizing knowledge beyond academia. So even our last speaker now, who I didn't get to take notes on, acknowledged, the importance of different types of knowledge, traditional knowledge, oral knowledge, etc., that is often sort of, marginalized and undermined in academic spaces. And today we had the presence of poets, authors, artists, and storytellers, and that shows that knowledge production is broader than, formal research in academic institutions. And so we need to continue to integrate arts and storytelling into Somali Gender Hub's programming. And we also need to support Somali women writers, poets, oral historians, and creators. And we also need to ensure that we're documenting Somali women's cultural contributions, and that includes artifacts, the burambur, the rich one that we heard today, as well as memory work. So the outcome of that is hopefully a decolonized knowledge system that honors Somali women's intellectual traditions across, different spectrums. So next is elevating the women's roles in peace building. So we learned from Baydaba that when women are given platforms and support, they produce long-lasting solutions in terms of mediation processes, social transformation, and community cohesion. So the action around that includes women researchers and practitioners being integrated in peace processes, documenting women's peace building strategies and scaling them, as well as supporting organizations like YCAP, like Somali Gender Hub, members who work in peace and climate resilience. And the outcome of that is hopefully more stable and resilient communities driven by women's leadership. Lastly is the need for institutional partnerships and regional collaboration. So what we heard in regards to the work of the Somali Higher Education Commission is that Somalia is aligning with the East African community, and this is an opportunity to harmonize standards, mobility, and recognition of Somali qualifications. So the action around that can include building partnerships with countries across the region like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and the universities in those countries, encouraging academic exchanges for Somali women scholars in different countries in the region, and also expanding Swahili learning to improve regional integration. So the outcome of that can be stronger regionally recognized Somali higher education pathways, which will only end up giving Somali students greater opportunities and possibilities for successful career outcomes. So today's discussion made it clear that Somali scholars and Somali women in particular are producing knowledge across sectors and disciplines, often against these immense odds. So our task now is to build the systems, support networks, and institutions that allow this work to thrive. We need to invest in Somali scholars, amplify their work, and help create structures that will sustain their long-term scholarship. So that's it for me. Sorry for the ramble, but I will now turn it over to Faduma Ali Saman for next steps and closing remarks. Thank you so much.